Forristicat here once more. Yes, I am filming this just after the Wire video because I got a couple of things I want to get off my mind. So yeah, one other TV show. Just want to turn this point down. One other TV show which I always wanted to speak about properly, which I've not, is Lost. And Lost is one of those TV shows where, you know, like, it didn't make a lot of mistakes, but it didn't make enough things right to warrant, like, you know, like a respectable, you know, like, reference in you know, pop culture. And, you know, people reference Lost all the time. They talk about Lost. It was like a huge hit. It was, you know, like a great TV show. Like, it was very mysterious, you know, at the time. And, you know, as much as they, you know, they fucked things up at the end, Lost is a great TV show. Like, I really believe that. And I'll explain why. And once again, with reference to my own personal 3 criteria, which everyone should focus on: story, characters, and emotion. The main, you know, facet which is, you know, dominant here is characters. I mean, you got so many different characters. You got like Sayid, Kate, you know, like Jack, Sawyer, and once again, this is getting maybe into touch territory. You know, like the whole world is connected, this, that, and the other. And, you know, getting into flashbacks as well, which is a whole other, you know, story altogether. But I guess, you know, I haven't really spoken this that much in many TV shows, but yeah, the mysteriousness of this show is something which I have not felt that much in many other TV series. Why? Well, I don't watch many TV mystery series, but Lost has always held a sort of very, I guess, interesting balance between like adventure, action, and to be quite frank, what the fuck is going on here? And that is something which has, you know, drawn me to the television show a lot. The thing and this is a change of tone, the thing I most disrespect about this TV show is, and I guess I'm gonna have to reference like another podcast here, Alex Hahn. And yeah, like the actual official Lost podcast, which is that, you know, like, TV series should, and, you know, anything for that matter, should always stand on their own 2 feet. If you need like a book or an annotation or some sort of, like, you know, like blog or blurb or whatever to back up or explain what your piece of entertainment, well, hopefully more than entertainment, is meant to communicate, then you've messed up, because everything should stand on its own 2 feet. And, you know, excluding, you know, things that people should work out for themselves. If you know, you're relying on like a podcast to be like, oh, this means this means that, which unfortunately, yes, you know, Lost had their official podcast where the creators, you know, most probably, you know, Damien Lindelof and Carlton Cuse not always had to, but they always did sort of, especially during the major, you know, character bomb episodes and plot bomb episodes, they had to come on and sort of explain. Sorry about that. Explain the sort of happenings of the latest episode. That was a major problem, and the thing that always like blew my mind is that, you know, like, these episodes, like, especially getting towards like the later episodes, you know, like when the shit hits the fan episodes where, you know, like, you're Jacob, Men in Black, the smoke monster, when you're about to hear that stuff explained, you should be like, oh sweet, this is gonna be fantastic. But the thing is, and personally, I can't even understand it myself, is like, you know what, this should be really entertaining to understand, but the explanation for all of these things was so, and the best word I can describe it with is logical, and, you know, logic, emotion. Logic is boring, emotion is exciting. And, you know, these episodes with, you know, like, the mythology episodes were so logical that it ruined it for me. It's like, you know, like, when I heard about this, it's like, you know, this is the smoke monster, this is my objective, I'm like, of course, that makes sense logically, that is what is happening. And as a result, I wasn't surprised, I wasn't shocked. My emotions were not engaged, and I'm like, well, of course, you know, like, I guess that's the, you know, worst 2 words you can ever hear, like, of course, because you're not surprised when you're uttering those words to yourself. And to hear all these sort of like obvious sort of guesses or like obvious like plot predictions, especially towards the end of the series when the shit hit the fan, really detracted what I really thought could be like a really interesting sort of like I guess explanation for the fundamental core of the mythology of the series, and that just did not happen because it's sort of what everyone sort of predicted. I guess, how can I say where Lost peaked? I guess Lost peaked when I guess the last memorable sort of aspect of Lost, which I remember, is like that statue. I think it was the season 4 premiere. I'm not sure, but you'll understand, Lost fans, what I'm talking about. Is like Jacob and MIB are talking on the beach, and it's like it always ends the same, and then shows like a massive statue of Tourette or whatever. And then boom, you got lost. You're like, oh wow, this is really amazing. And another thing is that these creators said something like, like we're not going to deal with time travel or anything like that. That I think that officially said that on the podcast or on the Fuselage forum, which is like the official forum for the Lost creative team. And then boom, they actually disrespected that. And I think if you're going to disrespect your fans, the whole underlining concrete of why you're making a TV show in the first place, then that's pretty fucked up. And they did that. They really did that. And that sucks. That really does suck a lot. So, I mean, like, what, as soon as I see, as soon as it's something like, we're not going to deal with time travel and like, or purgatory, and those are two major things that, credible, speculators sort of like focused and latched onto, understandably, given the random nature of the show. Everyone's like, okay, well, what is it going to be? And you know what, like, it ended up being a lot to do with time travel. It ended up being a lot to do with purgatory. And the ending, like I said, like I got very emotional about the ending. I cried a lot during the ending, and that was only because, I guess, of a combination of two things. Characters and emotions. Well, specifically to do with emotions, emotional investment. The aspect of my trifecta, which I talk about all the time, story, that was the most depleted or the most lowest out of all the things in Lost. And it's interesting because like it really was sort of like original, innovative at the time, but at the end, what, these podcasts which came out, which dealt with Lost, specifically like we're not making up Calvin Hughes and Damon Lindelof, like they actually said, like we're not writing ourselves into a corner, or we're not making this up as we go along. We actually sort of like, we actually have a vision for this series. Here we go, guys, ready for this? That is fucking bullshit. No fucking way were they consciously developing this storyline. They were making it up as they went along. Like, I'm not saying they didn't have like 3 or different 4 parts where they could have taken the story, but guys, to have a good piece of fandom, you have to know exactly where you're going. Like, this is a one-trick pony. This is like a one-lane bro. This is like like a one-bullet gun. You have to know where the fuck you're going. And you know what? Like I said in my previous video, The Wire, you better believe that David Simon knew the fuck where he was going. Why? I'll tell you why. Because The Wire is the best TV series ever made, and it should be so obvious to everyone. With The Lost, yes, of course, it had a lot of good elements. Like I said, the main thing that I'll always remember about Lost is the characters. Secondly, the mystery about it. Like, I just had no idea what was going on, and I remember like hearing some story, like loops, like okay, this is the mystery resolved, this mystery is resolved, boom, and like you have like a bigger mystery, that mystery is resolved, boom, you got something bigger. Like, there was always like a larger sort of mystery which was waiting to be resolved. But I guess emotions aside, the characters are the main thing which really made Lost. And I guess you sort of learned that from your flashbacks from Jack and Sawyer and Kate, this, that, and the other. But yeah, I mean, come on, guys. Like, you have to be honest enough to understand that these guys did not plan the Lost storyline from the start. They did not have an end game. It was very spaghetti bolognese there in the middle. and like I said, like the main thing that killed Lost was the logical explanation for so many of these things, which should otherwise be, you know, like emotional things. And I remember like you know, like Jacob, like looking at his like lighthouse, like, oh, this is Jack, this, that, and the other. It just like did not have it, and it really blew my mind, because, you know, like these, you know, like mythology heavy episodes, like, you know, Jacob, Men in Black. I'm like, wow, this should really hit us like a ton of bricks, and it did not. Like, why? Because it was, like I said, the word is predictable. It was predictable. It's like, okay, well, how can you logically explain this? Oh yes, this is the Men in Black, this is the smoke monster, and this destroyed the episode. And, you know, I think some of us have posted some sort of analysis on, you know, the Desmond episodes, and yeah, you know what, I agree. You know, the Desmond episodes were the best episodes of Lost, and I guess, you know, the whole, I don't know, like, how can you explain Lost, you know, like, after you watched it? I guess I remember, like, you know, I really got into like the Lost podcast community like a lot. Like, I used to listen to it. I think there was these two guys that podcast about Lost so much that their podcast lasted for like 12 hours. I'm like, that's ridiculous. But yeah, I guess how can I put it? Like it was a massive journey, and yeah, like the Desmond episodes were incredible. The you know, the mystery episodes were fantastic, but there should have been more like of a, you know, like, oh wow, I didn't see that coming moment. And like I said, like the last didn't see that coming moments happen where, you know, John Locke was possessed by the spirit or whatever, you know, the Man in Black, and, you know, this whole smoke monster thing. The whole I can't remember what's the guy's name. The guy that plays the mayor in Batman Begins. Very crap references, I understand. But nevertheless, yeah, okay. 3 minutes to go, or 4 minutes to go. Lost. Yeah, like I guess, you know, what these writers were trying to get at was like karma, redemption. I mean, those were the sort of themes I picked up. Yeah, you know, this show ended where it started. I mean, I really wanted, like, the main thing I really wanted was, and they did show, like, you know, Jack and Locke hugging each other, the whole man of science, man versus faith. It would have been nice to have seen, like, a really focused episode with these two characters. I reckon that those two characters, John Locke and Jack Shepherd, those two characters were the polar opposites of, you know, magnetic, or shall we say anti-magnetic storytelling, which, if the writers had ripped a storyline enough to you know, demonstrate that we knew where this was going, you know, this is the sort of result, as opposed to having just like a haphazard hug scene, I really reckon, you know, the series finale would have been better than, you know, than what it was. But you know what? And I guess this is sort of like a testament to, like I said, you know, character development and just really pure emotion that it sort of overrode the storytelling, you know, aspect, which was hopefully ever communicated less than average, which, you know, like sort of makes me, you know, remember Lost, you know, fondly in my heart at least. And you know, like I said, I got involved in the Lost podcast community. And yeah, like, you know, the flash forwards, flash sideways, time travel, this, that, and the other. Yeah, I guess the main sort of theme or message I'll, you know, get from Lost is, yeah, these guys, you know, from whatever timelines they were in, who cares about analysis? The fact is that, you know, they cared about each other enough to create a world where that, you know, they would have met each other and, you know, interacted with each other and, you know, shared emotions and life lessons with each other, which hopefully is something that fandom will do to each other, because my thing is ringing and I'm gonna answer that. What can I say, guys? Forristicat, Lost video, gonna upload this and answer that phone call. Peace.